Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 32 of the Joe Cannon Health Podcast. I'm exercise physiologist Joe Cannon, back for another week where we talk about health, fitness, exercise, nutrition, wellness, pretty much everything under the sun to help you keep living your best, all without the hype, no spin, no testimonials, as I like to say, just the facts in plain English. This week I want to switch gears a little bit and do some straight talk, some tough love, if you will, to those in the fitness industry. Here I'm talking specifically about group fitness instructors, personal trainers, anybody who works one-on-one with people in a fitness setting. I may have said it previously, but one of the things I do is speak, lecture, if you will, to those in the fitness world. I do lectures on personal training and exercise science and sports nutrition to those in the personal training world, as well as to those who want to become personal trainers. And one of the things that I've noticed over the years is that a lot of the textbooks out there for fitness, they do a really good job of covering the science of exercise and health, but they really don't talk to people who are working in the trenches one-on-one with people. And that's one of the things I like to do in the seminars that I give. I like to talk about things that often don't make it into the textbooks, because you can know all the science in the world, but if you don't know some real life things, it's going to impact your ability to be an effective fitness professional. And so I like to talk about those topics that I think need to be said that don't make it into the books officially. And that's what I want to do for most of our time this week. Talk about several things. I've got 10 things for you this week. I sometimes call these my 10 commandments of personal training. And I think that these will help those who are in the fitness world right now, especially those who are just starting out, that hopefully will enhance their career and give them some things to think about. So that's going to be the main topic for this week. But before I get into that, I do want to talk about the myth of the week. This myth is something that I've heard a lot over the years, and it is the idea that fruit is bad for you. Is fruit really bad? And again, I've heard this a lot over the years, but when I do ask them why they say this, a lot of the answers I get usually revolve around fructose. They'll say, well, fruit is bad because it contains fructose. So what is fructose? Fructose is a sugar. It's a simple sugar. It gets in our body pretty quickly, so it's simple. And it is found in fruit, but a little bit of it's also found in some vegetables as well. And I like to point out to people that fructose is not to be confused with high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is what you find in processed foods, cookies and soda and stuff like that. Fruit contains fructose. So they're not technically the same thing. When somebody eats high fructose corn syrup or drinks it, again, in like soda and stuff like that, high fructose corn syrup is going to raise triglyceride levels. Triglycerides are the fats that float around our bloodstream, and we can use those fats to turn them into energy. Well, that's great, but you don't want to have an awful lot of triglycerides in your bloodstream. This is why doctors often measure triglyceride levels if you get a blood test, because levels of triglycerides that are too high are linked to heart disease, fatty liver disease, diabetes, and a lot of other bad stuff, strokes. So again, you don't want to have a lot of triglycerides. It's interesting that people confuse, I think, fructose with high fructose corn syrup, and they really shouldn't, because here's the reason why. Studies consistently show that a high fruit consumption, people who eat more fruit, they gain less weight. They don't get diabetes as much. They don't get heart disease, stroke, kidney problems, liver problems. In fact, the research tends to show that people who eat more fruits and vegetables tend to have a lower all-cause mortality. And all-cause mortality is just fancy talk for lower risk of dying from everything. People who eat more fruit and veggies, they don't get as much cancer, heart disease, diabetes, stroke, liver problems, kidney problems, you name it. They don't get the same diseases as people who eat foods, if you will, that contain a lot of high fructose corn syrup. Another reason why I don't like to confuse fructose and high fructose corn syrup. So why is it that people who eat, say, more fruit don't get sick as much, actually tend to live longer and are healthier? At the end of the day, I can't tell you why this is. We're still trying to unravel this mystery of why fruit is healthy for us. I can tell you that there are some theories that I just want to quickly just list to you right now. Number one, Fruit, it doesn't have a lot of calories, okay? If, say an apple's got like maybe 80 calories. And the idea here is if you eat more fruit, you're consuming less calories. And if you're consuming less calories, that means your weight may come down. You'll start to lose weight. Well, we know that people who weigh less, well, they don't get as many cases of diabetes or strokes or heart disease, cancer, etc. So perhaps maybe fruit is protecting us because it doesn't have a lot of calories, and this in turn helps us maintain a more healthy weight, and which in turn lowers our risk of health problems occurring. That's one idea, and it does make some sense. Another idea is that the fiber in the fruit does have fiber. This may help us feel fuller longer, give us a more greater sense of what's called satiety. Satiety is the feeling of feeling full. And if you feel like you're full, you may not eat as much, which again means if you're not eating as much, you may have a more stable weight. Related to this is perhaps maybe the fruit is altering hormones that play a role in our eating behavior. For instance, there's a hormone out there called leptin. Leptin makes us feel like we don't have to eat anymore. Leptin is interesting because it's actually a hormone that's made inside our fat cells. It is correct when I say that fat cells are actually an endocrine gland, just like maybe your liver is an endocrine gland. They make hormones. One of the hormones that is made inside of your fat cells is leptin. And leptin sends a signal to our brain that says, you can stop eating. You don't have to eat as much. So perhaps maybe compounds in the fruit, whether it's the fiber, whether it's phytonutrients, maybe they alter our perception of eating by altering our hunger hormones such as leptin. Related to that, some people actually do make a lot of leptin, but they still continue to eat. They have what is sometimes called leptin resistance. Leptin resistance basically means you're making leptin, but you're resistant to the effects of it. It doesn't work as well as it should. And when I said leptin resistance, if you thought insulin resistance, you're on the right track. Basically, we're talking about very similar concepts here. In those with, say, type 2 diabetes, they have insulin resistance. They're making insulin, but it's not working as well as it should. Here, we see people who are making leptin, but it's not working as well as it should. So another theory is that perhaps maybe fiber, phytonutrients in the fruit may be altering leptin, maybe helping it work better in some way, which in turn may curb appetites. Now, I mentioned a second ago that fruit does have phytonutrients. These are sometimes called phytochemicals. There's a lot of them out there. Some of them are called proanthocyanins, catechins, polyphenols. There's a lot of them out there. And it's possible that these phytonutrients may increase fat breakdown, and they may also even play a role in reducing the storage of fat in the body. Again, that's perhaps maybe another way that they may help us. But beyond even the linking to fat breakdown and fat storage, these phytonutrients can also protect us against cancer and heart disease and diabetes, etc. So more phytonutrients tend to lead to a more healthier you. The phytonutrients protect the plants. And when we eat those plants, such as fruit, we tend to obtain the benefits of those phytonutrients in us as well. So that's yet another way which fruit may protect us. But the other way I want to bring to your attention, the effect of the fruit on the microbiome. The microbiome are the bacteria that live generally inside of us in our large intestine, although it is good to remember that we have a microbiome on our skin, and there's even a microbiome even in our brain. But if we just look at the microbiome inside of our body, in our large intestine, that 3 pounds or so of bacteria that live in synergy with us, it is possible that the fruit, the fiber in the fruit, as well as the phytonutrients, may alter the diversity of the microbiome itself. In other words, change the composition of the bacteria that live inside of us to make them not only more diverse, which is healthy, by the way, but also change them so they are a healthier overall microbiome. So there's bacteria that are not so healthy, and there's bacteria that live inside of us that are more healthy. Eating more fruit may promote a greater shift in the direction of a more healthier microbiome. So again, perhaps the fiber may do this. Again, we know that the microbiome, bacteria eat fiber. again, eating more fiber is going to alter the microbiome. And perhaps also these phytonutrients that I mentioned a second ago may also play a role in altering the diversity and composition of the microbiome also. Skip back to episode 16. That's where I talked an awful lot about the microbiome. So if you're hearing about this for the first time, episode 16, I do a deep dive into a whole bunch of topics related to microbiome trivia, all kinds of stuff. So these are 5 different ways we think that fruit is conferring a positive benefit to our overall health. So again, I think this is a myth busted. I don't see any evidence that fruit is bad for us. Again, if anybody says, that fruit is bad, I would say just take a look at the research. The research is overwhelming. Fruit is healthy. So myth busted. Fruit is good. Eat it up. Okay, so what I want to do with the rest of our time this week is basically list out 10 different things, commandments, if you will, and I'm using commandments with air quotes, 10 commandments of personal training that I think people should hear if they're in the fitness world. If you're not in the fitness industry, keep listening, because you may find something of interest yourself as you listen to this episode. So let's just get started and see what we can figure out. Number 1. Thou shalt not train everybody the same. There, I get with my commandment thing. Don't train everybody the same way. For personal trainers, this is of paramount importance. We work with individuals, not with some cookie cutter program. And when I talk about this, I always tend to flash back to this story I once heard of a power lifter. And he was a power lifter who became a personal trainer, and he trained everybody as if they were going to be power lifters. No, that's the wrong way of doing things. Remember that fitness trainers personalize the exercise prescription to the people they work with. They personalize that exercise prescription based on not only the goals of the person, but also their general health, their basic fitness level, how fit are they right now, and what are their medical problems they may be having. So you've got to work around not only their health issues, but their current fitness level and it maybe even injuries, and try to find a personalized exercise program that's right for them. Powerlifting's great, but if you have no reason to be a powerlifter, don't want to be a powerlifter, then you don't train people to be a powerlifter. We treat people as individuals. We personalize the exercise program to that person based on their goals, their health issues, their injuries, their desire to exercise. All that stuff is going to require a different exercise program, and also maybe even different exercises. For instance, you wouldn't do a lot of shoulder presses in somebody who's had a whole bunch of shoulder problems. Generally speaking, you wouldn't, especially if when they're doing their shoulder, it's causing them pain. So you got to work around their injuries, you got to work around their health problems, you got to work around their current fitness level to try to progressively overload them to help their body achieve a greater level of health and fitness. And that's basically what you do. For the people out there who are just starting out and they're saying, well, how the heck do I know what their injuries are and their current fitness level is and all that stuff? Well, if you're working in a fitness center, odds are you're having your current clients, your new clients, fill out a health history form. A health history form is where you're going to get a lot of this information from. It's usually a document that has lots of questions on it. It's the same thing that you'd fill out maybe if you went to your a new doctor for the first time. They're going to give you some sheet, some intake form to fill out, and they ask you a whole bunch of questions. Same thing with personal trainer. Fitness centers will have these health history questionnaires that you give to people before you work with them, and you have them fill it out, and it'll ask both open-ended questions and close-ended questions in a perfect world. What are the difference between those? A close-ended question is only going to have one answer. Where do you live? How old are you, for instance? Those are closed-ended questions. An open-ended question, we could have a whole bunch of answers. Why are you here today? What do you hope to accomplish with our time together in personal training sessions? So you can see the difference. An open-ended question is going to allow you to get a better idea of where they're coming from and what they're looking to get. So you don't train everybody the same. You personalize the exercise to that person. That is really going to help you an awful lot in the world of fitness. Again, I see a lot of trainers doing the same thing over and over again with everybody. And while it may work, especially in the beginning, it may work, over time, you're going to run into some problems. And that's why being more specialized in the creation of the program, I think, will help people in the long run. So that's number one. The next thing that I want to get off my chest this week, and if you're guessing already, I'll just say it. Yeah, this is a bit of a venting episode, so hopefully you'll take some humor of some of my venting. Number two, don't just rely on your certification alone. So for the people who are not in the fitness business, I'll just tell you, if you're going to be a personal trainer, you should, in a perfect world, obtain a personal training certification or a group fitness certification if you're teaching exercise classes and stuff like that. The certification, again, there's different ways to do this, but as a rule, everybody's got to have a certification. And in the world of fitness, there is this belief that one certification is better than another. In America, for instance, there are hundreds of organizations that certify personal trainers. And if you look in the previous past episodes that I've done, I've actually given some tips on how to find a personal trainer. So do seek that other episode out for more on this. But there is this belief that one organization is superior to another, which is just utter baloney, in my opinion. Mostly this is just good marketing on the part of one organization over another. There is this belief system that one organization is superior or better. Wherever your opinion is in this, just remember this thing. Simply passing a fitness certification exam only means you know the minimum requirements. In other words, if you're just certified, you know the least information required to work with people during fitness training sessions. The least. And I want that to sink in for a moment. That's all a certification ensures, that person knows the minimum. So think about it this way. Would you want your doctor to only know the minimum? Would you want your attorney to only know the minimum? No, you would not. And the same way is true for a fitness trainer. You don't want somebody who knows the least. You really want to make the difference between somebody who is a certified fitness trainer and somebody who is a qualified fitness trainer. Certified and qualified do not mean the same thing. And when it comes to personal training, I sometimes give people my working definition of a personal trainer. What is a personal trainer? A personal trainer, in my opinion, is a member of the healthcare system who prescribes exercise in a certain dosage to elicit positive responses in health and fitness and wellness in the people they work with. And I say that on purpose because, say you're outside of America, this may not work. But in America, if you go to the doctor, for instance, a doctor's visit is maybe 5-10 minutes long if you're lucky. If you go to a physical therapist, maybe your insurance only pays for 10 visits a year. But there are personal trainers who will see their clients 1, 2, 3 times a week, between 30 minutes a day and 60 minutes a day for years. So they have a greater opportunity to help improve the life and lifestyle and health and wellness of their clients for the long haul. A doctor, for instance, isn't probably going to have the time to talk about the benefits of fruit, for instance, like we just did here today. So a personal trainer, on the other hand, because they're spending more time over the course of their association together, they'll have a greater opportunity to talk about things and show people things that they may not hear from anywhere else. And that's why being qualified is important. You can't just know the minimum. People are smart. They go on the internet. They look stuff up. They watch these doctor TV shows. So they're educated. And that's why the fitness industry needs to grow and move with that. You need a fitness professional that is qualified, not someone who just knows the basics. And at the end of the day, you got to remember that the fitness business, if you will, is really about a service to other people. You're serving other people. And one of the best ways you can serve those people is by continually educating yourself. So how do you stay educated? Again, if for the fitness trainers who are listening to me, especially the new ones right now, how in the world do you maintain your education in fitness? Number one, as I said earlier today, there are hundreds of organizations that certify personal trainers. Some of these certifications are expensive. I am by no means telling you to go out and spend a lot of money on a fitness certification that you may not be able to afford. Okay, why not instead go get the textbooks of those other organizations and study them? If you got the knowledge that's in those textbooks, well, then that's really all that matters in my book. I personally don't care who you're certified by. I really don't. It doesn't matter to me. As long as you can help other people, you know what you're talking about, that's the important thing. That's why I said it doesn't matter what the best certification is, and there is no best. There really isn't any best. It's about knowledge, not about what the certification, who the certification comes from. So go grab the textbooks. You can find them online. Maybe other personal trainers may have them. You can study them on your own. Just borrow them from people. So that's one possible way. Another way is, well, a lot of these textbooks, maybe, and other books are on audio right now. So you can go to maybe audible.com and you could download these books for free. Again, Audible's a paid service. I'll try to find a link to where maybe you can get a free Audible subscription, at least get one book for free from Audible. I know they're out there. I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes. If you've never been to Audible before, maybe I can get you one for free. Another thought. If you have an iPhone, which I know a lot of you do right now, did you know that on your iPhone right now is an entire college degree? It is. Go on your iPad, go on your iPhone right now and search for iTunes University. iTunes University is essentially college courses that are given to you for free that you can listen to at your leisure. There are college programs right now on iTunes University on exercise science and nutrition, for instance, and everything else taught in school at a university level. And you can listen to them 100% free. Go there right now. Android users, I don't know if you can download iTunes University or not. Let me know if that's true. I forget if you could or not. If you can, great. Search for iTunes University, but it's definitely available for iPhone users. You're listening to a podcast right now, and so that's great. And podcasts are another way to continue to learn. One of the reasons I got into this podcasting thing is because I love podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts longer than most people even knew what a podcast was, and I continually listen to a bunch of them on a regular basis. Not just health and fitness and wellness podcasts, because they're out there, but I like to listen to podcasts on a whole wide array of topics. So I'll link to my list of some of my favorite podcasts so you can check them out for yourself. So that's another option. You could attend fitness conventions. There's conferences all over the world that you could attend and just sit in the audience and listen to different experts and different topics talk about what they're most passionate about. So that's another way. Again, it's not about getting certified by the quote unquote best organization out there. It's about staying educated. If you do that, you're ahead of the game. Most personal trainers just get certified and then that's all they do. If you can maintain your education and grow over the years, eventually those certified personal trainers are going to start asking you questions. And that's what you want, because I want you to be perceived as the expert in this business. Because if you're the expert, you never know where that's going to lead to. So again, number 2 will be don't rely on your certification, maintain your education as much as you can. Third, and this is the third thing I want to talk about, is a biggie in my book, because this is a topic that does not get talked about. It kind of sits on the sidelines and nobody wants to touch it with a 10-foot pole, but I'm going to. Number 3, thou shalt not date clients. I cannot say this more strongly. If you're a personal trainer, fitness instructor, you do not want to be dating the people who are paying you. I mean, that just flashes back to an old Seinfeld episode, which again, if you watch Seinfeld like I do, you probably remember. But regardless, the way I kind of talk about it in seminars I teach and give is that you don't want to pee in the lake you're drinking from. It is the biggest mistake you can make. Unfortunately, some personal trainers have never gotten this memo. They think that fitness is like a 3 a.m. Cinemax movie, and this is a critical error. I cannot state this more strongly. Consider the ramifications of what you may be doing. What happened if you're, for instance, dating a client and things don't end so well? What if that person goes to the manager of the gym you're working at and complains about you? Well, you may get fired over this, especially if you're fired over maybe allegations of sexual harassment. That does go on in fitness centers. I know it does. I've written about it and I've heard from people this has happened to. So you don't want to get behind that 8 ball. Another scenario to consider before you may think about getting involved in this is what happens if maybe the person you're messing around with starts telling other people in the gym about your inappropriate behavior? How will that impact your ability to get clients and make a living? If I even take a step further than this, what if your non-professional conduct makes it onto the web? Do not think for a moment that your future clients will not look you up. They will look you up on the web, and so too will their spouses. This is important if you're ever maybe trying to go in business for yourself. You do not want a lot of bad stuff popping up about you on the internet. They're going to look at that. They're going to look maybe even on your social media accounts. If you're putting weird stuff up on social media, that's going to be checked as well. Food for thought. Your future employers, maybe in the fitness world, is also going to be looking at your social media accounts. So again, something else to consider. But when it comes to dating clients, I don't see any good coming of this. And I know there's probably going to be someone out there who says, oh, but Joe, it happened to me and I met my future husband or wife. Okay, those instances do occur, but they're 1 in a million. Odds are nothing good can come of this. And so, again, for the personal trainers who are starting out, you've never been told this before. I'm telling you right now, do not do this. It will eventually come back and bite you in the butt, and I don't want that to happen to you. So control yourself with your clients and do not make this critical error. Okay, number 4, thou shalt be CPR and AED certified. You want to be both AED and CPR certified. CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, AED, automated external defibrillator certified. So I think a lot of people who operate gyms do not take the idea of medical emergencies seriously. I know this, having come in contact over the years with several people who run gyms, and when I bring up this possibility, I can see by the look on their face that it just never occurred to them. And unfortunately, this failure to think about the worst case scenario could lead some gym owners hiring staff who are not AED and CPR certified. Huge mistake. If you want to become a personal trainer, you need to understand that sometimes, unfortunately, bad things happen. I'm just going to say it. I have seen people die in the gym. I have seen them die. And I also have met personal trainers whose clients, unfortunately, have died right in front of them. And I need you to realize that this can happen. Is it rare? Absolutely, it's rare. The risk of dying with exercise is extremely low. It is minuscule. Maybe I'm jaded by the fact that I come in contact with so many individuals, but I have heard horror stories over the years of what happens on this most dreaded day in the life of a personal trainer or gym owner when something like this does happen. And it is the reason why I've heard all these stories, why I want to bring this to your attention. All fitness trainers, personal trainers, group fitness instructors, and I, honestly, if you're, say you work at the front desk, you work in childcare, you're in the janitorial staff of the gym, you also need to be both AED and CPR certified. And you also need to renew those certifications on a regular basis. I cannot stress this more than I am right now. If you, next time you go to the gym, just look around at all the people and wonder to yourself, what would you do if something bad happened while you were, say, on the treadmill? This is a topic that I don't think a lot of people are thinking about. I was recently, for instance, reading an article on the threats to the fitness industry. What do industry experts think are some of the threats facing the industry? And this is something that didn't come up. I heard things like, oh, we need to stay educated. No, we need to be mindful of the technology change that's occurring out there. And, everybody's doing online stuff these days. Not one person talked about the failure to maintain a qualified staff in the gym to make sure that the members of that gym are safe. I just think they're sticking their heads in the sand. True story. So I was at a gym a while back and I asked one of the salesmen of the gym, well, tell me what happens if something bad happens, if somebody has a heart attack. And he proudly proclaimed to me that, oh, well, sir, we're all AED and CPR certified. And I said, and I'm really glad to hear that. Where's your AED? That guy could not tell me where the defibrillator was located. I had to tell him. I knew where it was as soon as I walked in the door, but he didn't know where it was. That's a problem. So I don't care if they're AED and CPR certified, which I hope they were, but I also want them knowing where the AED is located. That guy didn't. So again, if you're, say, not in the fitness business, go to your gym and ask people, where are your AEDs, by the way? And see what they say. It is just something that gnaws away at me. And I say this out of love for those in the fitness industry. I'm not trying to beat anybody down. I'm really not. But I'm trying to call attention to issues that I really do believe need to be addressed that are not being addressed to my satisfaction. So if you're applying for a job as a personal trainer at a gym, and I would suggest you ask them, do you require me to be AED and CPR certified? If they say no, I would say walk away from that facility. That's not the place you want to work. That's definitely not the place you want to work. And why I say this is they're not thinking about you. They're not thinking about their members. They only want somebody, anybody, to work a certain shift because they have to answer to their higher ups. They have somebody working, say 3 to 6 on Monday through Friday or something like that. They're just looking for somebody. They're not looking for the best qualified. And again, I'm not saying this to beat anybody down. I know this goes on. I do know for a fact this goes on in some places. So if you're a personal trainer, I want you to get AED and CPR certified before you go looking for a job. And then during that interview, ask them, do you require AED and CPR certified? And if they say yes, hey, that's great. They have your best interests at heart and their members at heart as well. If they say no, well, then why don't you require everybody to be AED and CPR certified? I remember years ago walking into a place and I asked that question and they asked, and I said, does everybody AED and CPR certified? Only the manager, I was told, had to be AED and CPR certified. And then I said, and by the way, this was a Sunday night. And when I was asking this question and I asked them, I said, where's the manager? Oh, the manager's not here right now. Are you kidding me? The manager is the only person who's CPR and AED certified, and the manager was not even in the building. Everybody needs to have these certifications. Related to this, if you have never done this before, have never gotten AED and CPR certified before, I know that there are classes that you can take online. These are online AED and CPR classes. And nothing against them, but I'm just going to say, if you've never gone through an actual class before, don't get an online certification. If you've already gone through the class several times, that's great. You want to do a refresher online, I have no problem with that. But I would not just use some kind of computer test to qualify you in AED and CPR certified. There is no substitute for doing chest compressions or rescue breathing or working with an AED. So again, I really think it is in your best interest to take an actual class. Classes are held all over the places: colleges, hospitals, fire stations, Jewish community centers, YMCAs, everywhere. These are not going to be hard to find. Both the American Heart Association and the Red Cross hold classes in your area all the time. So they're not very difficult to find. Okay, so I'll get off my AED and CPR soapbox. Let me move on to my next soapbox. And that is, you should show up and be prepared before your client gets there. So I was working out one day not too long ago, and I was watching one of the personal trainers as he was working with one of his clients, and I watched him leave his client and run upstairs to get some equipment while his client was already working out. He literally left the client unattended to get equipment. That's a gigantic mistake. So if you're a personal trainer and you've never been told this, I need you to realize that you should be prepared before the person arrives for this session. You should have all your notes, your exercise programs, all the equipment you might need. It should all be there before the client arrives. And you should arrive at least 10 minutes before the client gets there. If you're self-employed and you're, say, traveling to people or something like that, then you should arrive at least 5 to 10 minutes early before your session begins. The latest you want to be is right on the diet. But if you are working in a gym with people, then you should be present before they arrive. You should be there to greet them, and you should have everything ready that you need to do that personal training session before they arrive. Why is this important? Because you need to give your client undivided attention during their workouts. You should show them everything they should be doing and watch them. And I want to repeat that. You want to watch what they're doing while they're exercising. And when I say undivided, I'm also talking about no talking on the phone and no texting people during workouts. You don't want to be doing this. It sends a very bad message to everybody who's watching you. And I got news for you. If you're a personal trainer, you're working at a gym, everybody's watching you. And when you see somebody texting during training or chatting on the phone or looking the other way, then again, it basically means you're not giving them your attention, and everybody else is watching you too. Why are they watching you, by the way? People are watching you to get an idea of how you're going to treat them. If they see a personal trainer texting, chatting on the phone, looking the other way, flirting with girls, flirting with guys, whatever, if they see that, they're going to say, that's what you're going to do if I hire you, and you're not going to get hired. So undivided attention is of paramount importance. This is one of the simplest things that you can do to get clients and keep clients for the long haul. Number 6 is another topic that I want to bring to your attention. It doesn't get talked about in a lot of textbooks, but I'll just say it. If you're in the fitness business, I really think you should have multiple streams of income. And I say this because a lot of personal trainers, they rely only on personal training to make money. And I want you to stay in business. And if you're only relying on personal training, well, then that can be a problem, because what happens if you, for instance, lose clients? Maybe the economy takes a nosedive and people can no longer pay you. If that's the case, then you're going to have trouble making your car payment one day. By having multiple streams of income, this can help you during those downtimes, and they will happen occasionally. What happens if maybe the gym fires you for whatever reason? Maybe they can't keep you on and they lay you off. Maybe the gym closes. I've heard of stories where facilities literally give no warning to anybody. They just close. I mean, what do you do in that instance? If you show up one day and it's chained shut, you can't get in. What happens again if you lose some clients? What if, and again, this is something to think about, personal training can be challenging. I know of personal trainers who have gotten injured working with clients. What happens if you're injured and you can no longer do your work? Maybe you blew out a shoulder, or you got a really bad case of tennis elbow. You can't lift dumbbells anymore. What if you hurt your back? Again, you have to consider that. And so if you have multiple streams of income, this can help you when maybe your personal training revenue is not doing so well. In the world of fitness, there are these individuals out there, and some are, I'm sure, very sincere, and they have, programs and strategies to, help you make more money and work less and all that stuff. And if you sign up to their program for sometimes thousands of dollars, well, then you can learn the secrets too. They may have some good things that they may say. Think about ahead of time before you invest thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in some person that you don't know and who says they make a lot of money, but you have no way of verifying it. And are they even in the fitness business themselves? I bring this up because I have run into people over the years who have told me of stories where they have signed up to some of these gurus to, help them make a living in the fitness world. And, they weren't happy with the results they got, and they had trouble getting refunds. I know this stuff happens, and again, I've met a few of these people over the year. This actually prompted me to write a book years ago called Personal Training Marketing Secrets. There's no secrets out there, but I wanted to throw that in there because I thought it was a catchy title. And again, for people who don't know these things, it is a secret. So again, not thousands of dollars, but you can go on Amazon. You can find it right now. Just look up 101 personal training marketing secrets. For less than $30, you get over 100 different strategies to help you make a living as a personal training. A few ways that you should be thinking about, maybe you could make some extra income. And again, all this is varied according to a bunch of different factors. But just to get the juices flowing a little bit, write a book. It's never been easier to write a book. I've written several myself. I'll link to, all my books on Amazon. You can check them out yourself. They're always on my website, joe-cannon.com. You can get them directly from me. But again, that's one of the ways in which you could make money. And it could be an ebook or a Kindle book, and it could be a real physical book, or you can do both. You could, a lot of people are making money with YouTube channels right now. That's a possibility as well. You have to put a little work into it. It's not as easy as it used to be, but that's a possibility. So you could also start a podcast and maybe eventually make some money. But I got to tell you, most people who do podcasting don't make a lot of money or any money. So anybody that says you can make thousands, if not millions of dollars of podcasting, ask them for their bank accounts to take a look at what they're making. Most people who do podcasts, they do it out of the love of podcasting, not because they're making a lot of money doing it. One other way, which is something that I also do, is that why not be a speaker to businesses? Businesses will hire people to come in and talk to their employees about, say, health and wellness and eating healthy and stuff like that. You could do that. If that's in your wheelhouse, if these are things that you know a lot of that could benefit employees and employers, well, then why not reach out to businesses and try to become a speaker? So that's a possibility as well you could do. So again, there are many different ways in which you could have multiple streams of income. Again, it does take time to build those other streams. They do not happen overnight. I think that's one of the reasons why I think sometimes people may not try to do them, because I understand it is challenging to be a personal trainer. As I said, it's a business of service to others, and sometimes that service doesn't end, when you leave the gym, for instance. It can be a challenge. I would only behoove you to think about this moving forward, how you might be able to, crash proof your personal training business. And I think one of the ways is try to do different things. I'll leave that at that. If you want more insights on this, reach out to me and we'll see if we can, might help you out a little bit. Number 7 on my list of top 10 personal training commandments is, again, something that doesn't really get talked about a lot, but I do want to bring it to your attention. I'm really speaking right here not only to the fitness trainers themselves, but I'm also speaking to those who are maybe thinking of hiring a personal trainer. And I'm just going to say it. You shall not purposely try to hurt people. Here's what sometimes happens in some fitness centers. And I sometimes call this one of the dirty little secrets in some places. A person hires a personal trainer, and that personal trainer is sometimes instructed to purposely make the individual as sore as they possibly can. The reason for this is if the person wakes up really sore tomorrow, they'll think they're really out of shape. And if they're really out of shape, they're more likely to hire the personal trainer. So why do they do this? Well, gyms are businesses and they want to make money. And I get that. I got no problem with making money. I like to make money myself, but to do so by trying to purposely hurt people, make them sore the next day, is unethical, and it needs to stop. I have been told of many instances over the years that this does go on. Can't give you statistics. I just know it happens. So again, it needs to stop. It is unethical. What they're basically doing here is they're using delayed muscle soreness, the soreness you feel the next day, as a way of getting clients. The more clients the personal trainer makes, the more money the gym makes, and that's why they do it. It's a psychological trick. And again, it has no place in the world of fitness. This, I think, is one of the reasons why a lot of people reach out to me when they get rhabdomyolysis. If you're listening for the first time, rhabdomyolysis is muscle fiber destruction from too much exercise. It is a very serious medical disorder. It is a topic that I have devoted over a decade of my life to not only investigating, but educating people about. And I get a lot of people reaching out to me who said, I got Rhabdo is how it's abbreviated, from my very first personal training session. And I sometimes wonder if the reason for that is, was it because the trainer was told to make people sore on purpose? Again, one of the reasons I think there's a problem is that personal trainer is basically certified and not qualified. And because of that, they don't know what rhabdomyolysis is. And if they think they know, they most likely think misconceptions. Also, the manager or owner of the gym may not know what it is either. And so the person who hires the trainer, unfortunately, pays sometimes a weighty price maybe they found themselves in the hospital for 3 or 4 days trying to recuperate from rhabdo. Again, no place for making people sore. And so I'm going to let the secret out of the bag right now. If you are thinking about getting a personal trainer, if that personal trainer on your very first day starts doing things like chest day and leg day and back day and arm day, where all they do for one day is work the chest or work the arms or work the legs, that is the wrong way to do things. You do not train a novice by doing single body part training. It is wrong. The safest way to train a novice, a beginner, is with a total body circuit training program. You move from exercise to exercise and you work basically one body part per exercise. So for instance, someone may do a chest press, a leg press, then go to a lat pull down, do a shoulder press. I'm just making these up as I go along. May do a lateral raise, a tricep push down, and you just do it like that. That way, no body part gets too much intensity. Circuit training will improve strength and muscle power and muscle endurance. There's a lot of benefits to circuit training that I don't think people they don't think about. And for those personal trainers out there, again, I want them to start looking into the benefits of circuit training and stop all this nonsense about single body part training and this nonsense about split routines. Split routines are where you might do on one day chest and back. Next day you do biceps and triceps or something like that. It's fine training for a more advanced lifter, but for the personal trainers listening to me right now, odds are those advanced lifters are not your clients. Your client is usually a woman over the age of 40 who is a beginner. Women over the age of 40 who are beginners hire trainers the majority of the time. They don't need split routines and single body part training programs and supersets and stuff like that. At the very least, it could cause a lot of muscle soreness the next day. At the worst, it may cause an injury, like maybe tennis elbow. Or maybe in a very worst case scenario, something like rhabdo. So again, I do think this is a problem that needs to be addressed, and hopefully my words are sinking into somebody. So the next topic I want to talk about is thou shalt stay in your lane. If you're a personal trainer, just try to be the best personal trainer you can be, the best group fitness instructor you can be. You don't have to be somebody's psychologist. You shouldn't be their marriage counselor. And absolutely, you should not be their massage therapist unless you're a massage therapist. I have seen these things over the years, and I just got to scratch my head. What the heck are you doing? And I understand people, sometimes in the fitness world, again, it's a service to others. And sometimes you want to serve other people as much as you possibly can. Sometimes that can cross a boundary. And I don't think that's a boundary that should be crossed. And that's why you should be referring out some issues to other professionals. Like, again, maybe psychological issues. Again, maybe massage, maybe, for instance, network with massage therapists for those clients you think might need massage therapy, perhaps even with nutrition aspects. If you're designing diets, I think networking with a dietitian is a much better way to go. That's going to help you help them the best, because then you're going to be able to shuttle them to the best professional who's best able to help them. Now, I mentioned nutrition. Again, I do think that personal trainers should be networking with nutritionists, dietitians when it comes to advanced nutrition topics. Absolutely. You absolutely can be talking about nutrition, basic nutrition information, because, they're going to come to you with this stuff. And that's why I think personal trainers should know some things about, fats and carbs and proteins and vitamins and minerals. Absolutely. But when it comes to more advanced things, like your client says, they have cancer, what kind of a diet is best for them? Oh, this is a job for a dietitian, because that's what they do. They are medical nutrition experts. So when it comes to weighty issues like, I have cancer, and what should I eat for, multiple sclerosis or anything like that, then I think it comes down to, again, referring them out to more qualified professionals in that area. I know that some gyms they'll have a juice bar and stuff like that, and they'll throw, fruits and stuff in the smoothie, and generally that stuff is okay. But sometimes they may have some other things, fat burners and other things they can add to their smoothies. And sometimes personal trainers may recommend different dietary supplements to their clients. I think this is a problem, and I would tread carefully when it comes to recommended dietary supplements. Personal training and nutrition fitness, dietary supplements, they don't always reside under the same umbrella. And sometimes when it comes to the supplements, personal trainers may think, well, if it's natural, it's safe. And, it's natural and safe don't mean the same thing. And so you can't always make that distinction. And for the personal trainer out there who is thinking about dietary supplements as a way to maybe make more money, and I do know that is something that some of them may do, again, you really want to investigate who you're doing business with. This is something that I have devoted over 20 years of my life investigating. You can just go to supplementclarity.com and you can see all my reviews of different topics that I have written about over the years. And supplements, I can tell you, are complicated, and they do have side effects. They can interact with medications, and you really want to be careful when it comes to that. So I'm going to leave that alone for now and just say supplements, be careful. There are some good supplements. There are some maybe not so good supplements. But regardless, you have to know what you're talking about. And then number 9 that I want to talk about is if you get a client as a personal trainer, you really want to keep their information private. You want to keep anything they say to you private. You do not want to be discussing that with other individuals in a way that could identify them. I'm bringing this up because in the world of medicine, hospitals, doctors, you name it, there is this law called HIPAA, HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Basically, the HIPAA law says that doctors and nurses and chiropractors, et cetera, they're not going to share your information with other people in ways that could identify you. And while that, I think, is a good thing, there really isn't a HIPAA requirement for gyms. Gyms are not under that HIPAA system. Usually they're not, unless they're associated with a hospital or something like that. They're really not. But regardless whether we in the fitness business are required to keep information private, I think it's in our best interest to do so. And that's why their health history forms and any other documentation they complete needs to be in a locked container, some kind of a filing cabinet or some kind of a system where other people cannot access it. And if you need to consult with other personal trainers about your client, well, then you should do so in a way that does not identify them. So, for instance, maybe you've got a client, for instance, who may have tennis elbow, and one of your coworkers knows a lot about tennis elbow. And so you could go up to that other trainer and say, I have a client who has some issues with tennis elbow. Are there any strategies you would recommend that might help me help them the best? That would be acceptable because you're not identifying anybody. So I think that's really a good thing to do. It's going to basically you're gaining their confidence as well, because they don't want their private information being out there to everybody. And the more they know that you're not sharing information, the more likely they are to open up and tell you more things that'll help you help them more in the future. And then the very last commandment, if you will, I have for this week's episode is, thou shalt think twice before signing a non-compete. I want to be clear here. When I'm talking about non-compete agreements, I'm essentially referring to those individuals who are working at a gym part-time. I'm not talking about those people who are full-time employees, who have medical benefits, who get IRAs and bonuses, etc. They're different. I get why they would be signing a non-compete. I'm really talking right now to the person who is essentially, say a non-employee, an independent contractor, if you will, someone who's working part-time, maybe 10, 15 hours a week. They're getting no benefits. They're basically working paycheck to paycheck. That's who I'm thinking about here. Because sometimes when the general person maybe going to work part-time at the gym goes and they apply for a job, they're asked to sign a non-compete agreement. So what is this non-compete? Before I go further, I'm not a lawyer. Don't play one on TV. From my non-legalese opinion, a non-compete is essentially a document, a legal document that says you will not compete with the place in which you work with. In this case, being a gym, for instance. So a non-compete may say something like, you agree that you will not work for another gym within 1 year of terminating your employment with the gym you're currently at. Or they may say, after you stop working with us, you agree to not work for another gym within, say, 10 or 20 miles of this location. So why would a gym have, say, somebody sign a non-compete? Well, some pretty good reasons, it turns out. Basically, that gym doesn't want you starting your own business in their backyard and becoming their competition. I get that. They're, sometimes maybe also afraid that if you were to leave their facility, you would take your clients, their members with you, again, being their competition. Again, basically, you're taking money out of their pocket. They don't want that. And I get that. They also don't really want you working for their competition. You're working, for instance, at Gym A, things don't work out, and you go to work at, say, Gym B. They don't want that happening. And so that's another reason why they may have you sign non-compete. And then another reason might be you're working at Gym A and you know their secrets. You know how they do things. And then you go to work at Gym B. Well, Gym A doesn't want you using the knowledge you learned with their competition. They don't want you sharing their trade secrets with their competition. These are all fine reasons for having a non-compete, and I get that. That makes perfect sense to me. But what does all this mean, again, for that person who's working 10, 15 hours a week at a gym part-time? They're not getting any kind of benefits, no medical benefits. Maybe they're teaching a few classes and they only have, a couple classes a week or a couple clients a week. Well, if the gym can't give you more hours or more classes or clients to teach, is it right that they stop you from trying to make more money somewhere else and making your life better? I mean, how can they stop you, if that opportunity arises? I think the answer to this is really going to vary from state to state. And also maybe in who you get to represent you if you ever do find yourself in legal dealings because you signed a non-compete. So I don't have any perfect answers to you on this topic. And I also can't tell you how likely this is to happen as well. But I can tell you that it has happened. There have been instances where fitness centers have gone after personal trainers because they've signed non-competes. And all you got to do is just look that up on the internet and you can see these things popping up. So again, no real perfect answers here. I just want you to think twice if you are going to work at a fitness center and they do ask you to sign a non-compete. Again, not a lawyer. This is something that, again, may one day come back and be an issue for you. So what I would say is if you have an interview at a gym and, if the topic doesn't come up, bring it up. Say, what would happen? Say, do you have a non-compete and what happens? What does that non-compete mean for me, a non-employee who's only going to be working, 20 hours a week or something like that, and see what answer you get over this and then decide for yourself how comfortable you feel signing a non-compete. There are people out there who sign them and they have no problems with them. And then, and that's great. And then there are other people out there who may not want to sign because of a non-compete. I get both arguments here. I just want you to realize that this happens. Not all gyms have non-competes, but if it comes up, think if you believe that this is the right decision for you to make. And so that's really what I want to get across. So there are my 10 commandments, if you will, of personal training. Let me recap them right now, just to be succinct here. Number 1, thou shalt not train everyone the same. Number 2, thou shalt not rely only on your certification alone. Number 3, do not date your clients. I can't say that more strongly. Number 4, you shall be both CPR and AED certified. Number 5, thou shalt show up and be prepared to train before your clients get there. Number 6, thou shalt have multiple streams of income. Number 7, thou shalt not purposely try to hurt people. Number 8, stay in your lane. And number 9, keep information of your clients private. And then number 10, think twice before signing a non-compete. So there you have it. Are there more than just 10 commandments? Oh yeah, there definitely are. But again, it sounded kind of cool when I thought that up. The 10 commandments, you gotta admit, that's a pretty good title there. So there are more things than this, but these are some of the biggies. Again, I don't think they get talked about a lot in textbooks, at least none that I have seen for the most part. So what do you think about all this? Drop me an email if you have any thoughts or think that I missed anything, because I'm by no stretch of the imagination the oracle of knowledge on all these things. And it's quite possible that I have missed a few things. So feel free to share your thoughts. I'll be glad to see what you think. And with that, I'm going to bring this episode to a close with the exception of the quote of the week, which comes to us from Zig Ziglar, who is probably one of the top salesmen in America, author, lecturer, you name it. Look, if you've never heard of him, look him up. He was quite famous, still is quite famous. And his quote goes like this: "You do not have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great." That's why he's Zig Ziglar. That's a pretty good phrase. I like that. So with that, I'm going to bring this episode to a close. Until next time, gang, I'm Joe Cannon. Go out, be safe, and where you can, do try to make a difference.